Most agents want what creators have. They want the brand, they want an audience, they want leads from it. But honestly, very few are willing to do what it actually takes. So for 10 plus years now, when nobody was clapping, we didn't have influencers out there in the world. Today, I'm talking to one of the originals, a guy who built a massive top 1% business by treating video like a tool, not a toy. So if you've ever thought, maybe I'm a creator, maybe I'm the creator avatar, but I don't want to be broke or I don't want to burn out. Well, this episode is going to be for you. So, welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast with me, your host, Darren Langille, as always. You get me on a lot of solos, but for the last little bit, I've been interviewing some folks to speak about this creator avatar. And if you've been following the series so far, this is the fifth avatar type that we've unpacked through this journey over the last 2 months. And because I'm not a creator whatsoever, but I'm trying to do this selfishly to learn from myself and then, of course, give to all of you. I've had 3 different amazing creators in this series to talk about it, but they all do things differently. So we're going to go deep on one of my hate to love favorite types of avatars. One of the riskiest, I think, and probably the most misapplied, and that's the creator avatar. So I brought on someone who's been doing this for a long time and way before it was cool. So he's a top 1% agent and team leader in Manitoba, Canada, right? A real broker leader, helped bring it to Manitoba and launch the province, a massive, what's the word? Just overall leader and ambassador of the company. Known across the industry as something called Mr. Social Savvy, which is sweet. He's got his own little tag name, and I think it's trademarked if he'll tell me otherwise. He's been using video and social as his primary tool since way back to 2012, I think is the time, but maybe my data is wrong. Consistently ranking in that top 1%. Him and who I've also had on the show, Addison, as an investor agent, are partners in a really high producing team, winning production awards all the time. I even found a tagline, and I don't know if it's still the one you're using, but this was on your YouTube, buddy. Video is our tool. Winnipeg is our canvas. We're here to help Winnipeggers find and feel at home in our fair city. So, Jesse Peters, Mr. Social Savvy himself, welcome to the show.
Hello, Darren, and in tagline way, how you doing?
Yes, we always need that
Oh,
to start, don't we?
so good, so good. Thank you so much for those accurate words. Yeah, when you hear someone else say it, you kind of go back and like having flashbacks of my real estate life and being like, oh wow. It's some days it doesn't feel like you have forward progress and have done much, but when you hear it and pause and listen how it's affected and helped others, and hear it told by the one and only, it's pretty awesome. So thank you so much for having me on today.
So, buddy, many people have seen you on stages, seen you on a lot of the video boot camp stuff you've done in the past. Some people don't know you. So, for anybody who doesn't know you yet, how do you introduce yourself these days? Like, what is the one liner? Because I know you got a lot of stuff.
There is, and it's evolved, and I along the speaker way, I've learned to talk less about myself and get right into all the goodness. But for a quick snippet, hey, what's up? I'm Jesse Peters, your social savvy guy of goodness that sells real estate, creates content, and lives and loves this island of the prairies called Winnipeg, where I'm born and raised. Husband of 15 years, a dad of 2 kids, an almost 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and one who is a Winnipeg Jets fan, and yeah, rocking the real goodness. But you know, I would say I try to live each day to the most, with a motto that I also try to blend in is surprise and delight. And how can we do that? Whether it's simple ways, whether it's through media, whether it's through a smile, whether it's through opening a door. if you can kind of keep that in mind and how we share that goodness, you in turn will be surprised and delighted with daily life, but also how you do your business.
Or just simply returning a text to your favorite podcast host.
Surprise! You were delighted that I finally
So
got
here's
back
what I
to you.
want to go through. I didn't give you the rundown on, I gave you a rundown of like this series of avatars and where you fit into this crazy mix. But where I want to take the audience through today is three kind of major points. So follow along. First, I want to go back to the beginning a little bit when you made the shift, as we all do, we enter the industry. We're realtors. And it's like, oh my God. But then you're going to go build this thing out in public, right? So back then you made these tweaks into social, right? I want to talk about that a little bit to give some people some context and maybe some confidence, right?
Mhm.
Two, I want to go into maybe the system, and I call it behind the Jesse Peters show, which is you're very out there. You're getting your message out, you're sharing all the things, but you actually have to operate behind the scenes as a creator, but also that doesn't like lose the business you generate. Right. So I'd love to
Mhm.
like unpack that a little bit because it's just two different worlds. Right. And then
Totally.
finally, I want to talk about maybe the cost and the payoff. Right. It's the mental game that comes from being out there. Maybe the family side that you integrate or don't, and that compounding impact of like doing this
Mhm.
into the decades now with an S. So that's my
Yeah.
goal, right? Is a creator or a would-be creator listening can walk away thinking, okay, here's how I could do this, maybe without burning out my life and my business down. So that's where I want to take us. Sound good?
Sounds amazing.
Sweet, buddy. All right. So let's start. Let's start with the why, because I don't think anybody accidentally just becomes social savvy and gets a trademark around it. um,
You are right, though. There is a trademark. Social savvy, socially sold, Mr. Social Savvy.
oh, there you go. So do
Yeah.
not take this show and
Uh,
go repeat that because he's coming.
I got keywords. I got Google searches that follow.
There you go. I should do that with all of my red line ones. That's a good idea. But let's go back to the first jump. Like, take us back before social savvy, before the brand. Who were you as an agent then? And what was that moment where you said, maybe I'm going to bet on video and social? Do you remember back to that?
Yeah, that would have been like early 2012 because yeah, that's kind of when I got in the industry. And to play into this a little bit, I'm a first generation realtor. I was not born and raised and handed a portfolio or a book of business, but kind of what I did come from is, two amazing parents who were also salespeople, who were also super community involved.
Mm,
And so kind of seeing that wiring, like I grew up in the house my dad grew up in. So like we are enriched in neighborhoods and knowing the value of being a part of something. And so as I kind of weaved my way through my life from, you know, school and activities and student councils and high school presidents and double A, triple A, junior A hockey and kind of weaving through, understanding the importance of staying connected in your city.
mm,
Um, because as big of a city we like to think Winnipeg is still only 800,000. So everyone in Winnipeg is oddly enough connected through like 1.5 degrees of separation. And so, kind of keeping that in mind, and having parents who are in sales, how do we surprise and delight people on a regular basis? How do we bring value, right? And how do we talk and maneuver through this? So, I'd kind of been a bartender and got into sales with True North Sports and Yellow Pages and marketing and whatnot. And a buddy of mine had said, "Hey, this boutique real estate company called Goodfellow and Goodfellow is looking for a social media manager."
mm.
And I was
That
like,
early.
that early. They had
Wow.
just come back from like a NAR conference, and there was talk about, um, they should have someone in office doing this world. And so I went and interviewed for that position, and no way was I was like, I got a kid on the way. I need regular stuff. I need to not travel as much anymore. And after like 3 hour interview with the owners and whatnot, they're like, oh. we can't afford what you can do, but we think you should be a realtor. So,
There you go.
so like, and that's kind of how I got into it. I do come in with a marketing, advertising understanding from my previous life, and then also just like how I've been, those years past. And so getting into, that the first 6 months was more, you know, real estate job shadowing showings, seeing where, the big names in our business were spending their money, billboards, bus benches, flyers, and I could not do any of that. And I'm just like, oh boy, baby on the way, mat leave on the way. How are we going to connect and reach an audience? So, you know, um, 4 open houses every weekend definitely helped. 7 days a week on the go.
Yeah.
But then I got my first listing in that year, and I was like, oh, I got to do something different. And I actually approached my wedding videographer, and said, meet me at an Earl's. I've got this crazy idea. I lubed him up with a couple of his favorite pints, and I said, I want to create a video tour. Um, that's like HGTV meets MTV Cribs, and I kind of want to be like Guy Fieri. So I had like an inspiration, I had an idea, and I found another creative who might be able to pull this off, because I saw what he did for our wedding, and he was like, "I'm down." Like, let's create the goodness. And creators want to be challenged, right? As much as there's template stuff, like give us a challenge, give us a goal, something that excites, that makes a difference. And so that's kind of how we weaved it through at a small cost in a way that felt natural for me. Someone who was also an English major and a theater minor in university. I was like, okay, play to your strengths, right?
Totally.
And how do we play to our strengths to hit the audiences that we want? You can be inspired, the traditional forms, but also in today's era. And I figured this out probably 14, 15 years ago, is what was my strength and where was there some early eyes then? And so that was with YouTube. And then, reproduce, was redistributing my YouTube content onto Facebook once videos were allowed, and kind of like I was on Facebook, what was it? 08, 09, like
Yeah.
just
Kind of in the
understanding social.
birthplace, right? You
Yes,
just
like a
shared.
unique social connection. Because I was like, hey, this is fun, but I also could sell hockey tickets through
Yeah.
Facebook, which is what I was involved with. So understanding where people's attentions were, and for the niche products I had. So yeah, that's kind of. I hope that got to where you were
Yeah.
hoping it would, Darren.
Did you find, I mean, back then, even more so than now, when you saw it was direct mail, it was open houses, which it still is, all the things, but mostly non-social, non-video yet. Did you get a
Yeah.
lot of pushback back then? Like, I mean, you're a creative guy, like you said, you came from this advertising, but you also come from a bit of a theater side, which to me I've always seen as a bit fearless. Like the guys that are willing to get up
Mhm.
on stages in high school in front of your peers in that crazy environment like you did. That's a different that's like a small crew of the high schoolers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had some ability to just be silly, be up there, be doing.
Yep.
But did you get the industry pushback? I'm assuming you did back then.
Oh my gosh, Darren. It was if I didn't have thick skin, I probably would have got out. Or
Mm,
the average person would have got out based on the unsolicited feedback that I really wasn't asking for. I was
right.
just doing something different, and that worked for storytelling, that worked with my budget, that I was excited about, that had never been done really. Sure, there's people who've done videos, but like in this kind of way for local house sales, yeah, it was hard. And I call it, I'm sure you're gonna get to this, but it's like the 5 stages. Like you're gonna get made fun of. You're gonna tell that's never gonna work from people you probably looked up to.
Mm,
You looked up to their business. You looked up to how they do their things, and getting oh, new guy, good luck. Like something you're proud of. and not feeling necessarily supported by a lot of the other people in your industry who had already been here for a generation or two, that was hard because then you're like questioning yourself. Um, but then realizing, staying true to yourself, it's like, okay, stay to your lane. You're doing something different here. But then that's what it turns into. You get talked down a lot. Then you get a little like, oh, that was kind of nice. You start to find your audience and your support within the industry. Then you see, how do you do that? And then you're starting to win their listings from people who, the home sellers who are like, oh,
Totally.
I need this. This is exciting. Someone's doing this, right? And that gives you a competitive edge. And, I leaned on that competitive edge for some years because as much as realtors are quick adapters, I think we see that that's still a niche audience or a niche amount of people who are quick to adapt versus adopting, where it's like, oh, I guess I got to do this to keep the business. Right. So, yeah, it was really hard. And then, you go through it and then you get complimented, then you get taught, people are like, oh, this is what we got to do. And I'm a
Sure.
decade ahead of you already now. So that felt good.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I bring that up, and I kind of figured that would be the case, is so much of what I try to teach and preach and strangle into agents, whatever I have it in, whenever someone gives me a bit of an audience, is to like build their business by design, right? And and the creator one, in my opinion, is one attempted by almost everybody because there's so much pressure to be on social, so much pressure to do video, and you and I know there's massive benefits, but there's also if someone's using it as a path where they the moment they get that thing, that negativity, that peer pressure, that like, what are you doing? Who are you trying to be? If you truly don't have that like thicker skin and willing to have it for a while, there's other paths that maybe don't lean as heavy on the creator moment that you could probably get through and like repeat and build a habit into if you're going to just get beat up hard on those and it's going to deplete you so that you're just frustrated, right? Or you have a mental switch to say, I don't really care. But as you know, as humans, it's hard to do that. And as realtors trying to put food on our tables, it's hard to do that. Where I kind of like I suggested there's a creator full path and there's a creator light path, right? In a sense, it's just like know who you are. I think we all have to be creator light, but we don't
Yeah.
always have to be creator full because there's so many ways to build a business. When I say that, does that kind of like resonate a little bit?
Yeah, it does. And you know what? Being an early adapter, I think I'm using the right word there. Adapter. I always get those two confused. But
Let's
being,
call it both of them work, right?
yeah, an OG in this, I
Yeah.
would say, there wasn't a lot like me doing this. So there was a lot of like mental strength alone time and being like, am I doing this? Now, I had a past of like, being a high performing athlete and those things like, the drill, just stay your lane, like
Hmm.
keep putting the reps in, keep going, the results will come. I will say this though, like, for those who are considering it now, as important as we understand that it is to have as part of your business, it doesn't have to be all of it. But here's what I didn't have. I didn't have a community. I didn't have a contenting, creative community then the way it is now. I didn't have that support from someone who had already been doing this 10 years and to give advice. We kind of learned this. And so now in 2026, and it's probably been for at least another few years prior to, there are communities be like, hey, who can support each other, guide each other, because we've been down the path. Here's what you can expect. Here's a playbook on how to get started. I like, you've kind of been an OG in your world too. Like, how
Hmm.
do I create this vision? How do I have to clear the brush to get to,
Totally.
the cottage on the lake that no one else sees, but
Yeah.
you can see beauty there? How do you get that? And so now it's like all these little paths
Makes
and
sense.
subdivisions of this, and we have a community. And so that's, I actually think it's less daunting now for the agent, considering being understanding the value of contenting. By the way, I think I created the verb contenting. I remember being on an island in Malta, speaking on a Remax tour, and I was shooting video of the guys behind me. He's like, "What are you doing? Contenting?" He's like, "I've never heard contenting as a verb." I go, "Well, I think I just created it." Um, but you know, I also think like in today's world, everyone has a device. Everyone understands a lot more on how to edit and how to do these things. And I think it can be easier. Like I do think there's less fear, but I don't think the thing that does change is like how we take criticism
Yeah.
and how we feel about those things. I don't think that has changed. You just have now, if you know, there's a community here to support you, where I don't think we had that
What would
as
have been,
much.
and this is kind of two part. There'll be the then and then the now. You go out and put yourself out there. You share a video, do social, whatever it is, the mechanics we haven't got into. What did success look like back then to know that all that energy when there wasn't even a path to follow was like would kind of be like, ah, I get it. That was a moment. And then even today, where now we're chasing, it seems like metrics and vanity and views and things.
Yeah.
Like what would be as a creator success now, right? Like, could you understand where I'm going?
Yeah. So like a creator success then. And like this was again, like the word creator wasn't even a thing
Yeah,
in like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like you weren't a creator. Like creator kind of came around when like Gary V started to happen, and like Instagram wasn't just photos, right? Like
totally.
that wasn't a thing. But someone who believed in the value of social media and being out where the attention is, for me, the value in early years real estate was like being seen at the grocery store and say someone's like, "Hey, I
Mhm.
saw your video about the parks or the bowling alley," or "Hey, like there used to be a time where we'd make our listing videos and put them on Facebook and tag the owners, and the owners share it, and you're like, "Hey, you're the guy that was in the video." Like just being talked about or recognition off a device was success, because that is marketing, right? Me being in my videos was me marketing myself in my clients' advertising. So it was like piggybacking, and that was early success. Now, like 25, 26, oh, I would say now, because I do create a lot, it's done in different ways, but probably I value the conversations that come from creation, the one-to-one conversations in the DMs. It's not necessarily about being recognized at a Jets game, someone yelling out, "Hey, social savvy!" Like, awesome, it's there. But it's like, "Oh, hey, I saw your stuff, and we've been talking on DMs, and now we see each other in person," right? Like using social to be social now is where I see the success. Like, hey, what's the engagement been? Whether it's from putting it on stories versus reels versus the feed, right? It's where it's I measure now the one-to-ones that grow the seeds of real estate conversations and more. And then video also allows, in a city like ours, I've been surprised and delighted with the companies that want to do collaborations, or who want to meet up, or who want to do something together, who understand audiences, right? So
Totally.
that's kind of what gets measured now for me.
The thing for me that I used to do a ton of market updates way back, all the guys that are crushing it in my market now. And I would go through the grocery store and then you'd see the person stop and pause and look at you and then kind of like triple take. And you're like, they know that like,
Yeah.
those little moments were like those early validations where like
Yeah.
my kids would say like, he's looking at you. And I'm like, is he a client? I'm like, no, he's not. And you could just tell, right? And those were those little
Yep.
moments you could catch. Um,
There's the little double takes, the head turns, the smile, the nods, or like you get the, "Hey, I've seen you before."
yeah, totally.
Like, Yeah.
Yes.
So
Now I think what you're getting at too with those DMs is you've been doing this so long. Yes, you're going to get the Jets game thing when you go to in these public settings. You're getting more recognized. You just got tenure now, so it's so real.
yeah. Yeah.
But now when you get the DM from the friend or the thing, the depth for which they probably know about what you've done the last year, because they know you just
Mhm.
came back from New York, or
Yeah.
you probably feel like I never had to tell you that. You know
Yeah.
it all. Like that must feel good, right? Like a bit of
Yeah.
validation pre-signed contract, right?
Well, and that's part of it, right? Like I am one, before contenting was even contenting, I enjoyed sharing what's going on in life. Like I was a water cooler kind of guy. I was a dressing room, let's talk, let's have fun, let's tell stories kind of guy. And now, like telling stories and reaching an audience is via the socials, it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
more naturally. But yeah, seeing something that I enjoy doing already and the benefits of starting more conversations and networking, collaborating, and building friendships and trust that way is way easier than door knocking, letters, whatever it is, right? Like I enjoy I enjoy the mindset, and I understand the mindset of how I do business is if we have an opportunity to build a friendship together, if we have an opportunity to share interests and have conversations and provide value to each other before real estate even happens,
Yeah.
it's like friendship, trust through proof, then business conversations happen. I feel maybe it used to be different. Like, hey, number one on the 100 billboards in the city gets attention differently. But I think you're then getting attention from people you don't know versus doing business with people you do know via the social, the friendships, and whatnot. So I kind of lean that way to grow my business, and there's lots of different ways to do it. But if I can make a friend or build a network or a connection in the city I love and do business in, that I'll take that any day of the week.
I think there's a nuance. Maybe we'll go into the specifics, and maybe you tell me if I'm off base. But in my attempted creator world, where right now I've been able to figure out, Jesse, how to post a lot, right? I have support, all the VAs, and so the posting is the easy part now. It's like the content engine is rolling. But when the stories drop off, it's because of me, right? So when
Hmm.
it's posties and
Hmm.
reels and carousels, those can, it's easier to get those two now for me. Stories, and there's a direct correlation to the inbound DMs and like that friendship and that almost like the connectedness. If I'm heavy documenting and sharing the journey and stories, versus all this incredibly curated feed type stuff that is like heavy, and if I go dormant for 3, 4 days, so do my DMs. When I go
Okay.
live and it's like, doing this behind the scenes with you and the thing with my son, and then they blow up. And you feel like the human part of this business that we've kind of got away from because we're behind devices and not in person as much comes right back when you go to the most real part of why we got into this business, which is relationships. Do you find that too in your world?
100%. Right? Like stories is the behind the scenes, mildly curated, um, 24-hour goodness. You know what I mean? And there's an audience for it. If you are looking at how many people have viewed it, not everyone needs to react, but they're watching. It's like their own version of the Truman Show, and they get to see all these different people and how they do things and bring insight and connect. And it's more real and raw. It's more vloggy than what we would used to really focus on putting in the feed, which was very much more museum-like
Hmm.
showcase piece. People look at it like I go through a museum. I'm not talking to the 8 people looking at the same piece of art. I'm like, oh, I like that. I move on. Right. But if I'm there seeing someone how they created it or the behind the scenes, I'm I'm interacting with them on a stories level. And so that's it is the simplest one to get. And people's expectations too are like if
Yeah.
you respond to a story, they've put it out on a story for interaction too. So like It's not like, oh shit, someone talked to me. What am I supposed to do? Oh no, stories is for engagement, is for conversation. And I lean on it more because my life as a husband and a dad has me as Uber dad, has me as theater dad, has me as aerial gymnast dad, has me as, all these other things. And we can still be social and connect here. So it kind of works well, the social life through social, while, parenthood, husband, whatever life that is different. You could kind of do two at the same time. So I like the convenience of that
You ever
big
had
time.
pushback, or do you find where agents just say like they're not you're not scared to be authentic. You're not scared to share the goofy, the funny, you and I have friends, the content creator friends that have really done well. I find just share it all. And like they're not
Yeah,
willing to hold back, and the goofiness and the hair not done and the makeup not on, and like versus when we go feed posts and we think we need to be social, they might think, if I look at your feed, that's a beautifully curated cover image, right? There's a few, but mostly it's like it's a little more curated, but in the story world,
a little bit
we're
more.
just letting it go. Is that fair?
That is fair. And I will preface this like this is years and thousands of videos shot to get to where I am today. Not everyone like I don't think I'm necessarily a big fan of like being one's, the word authentic.
Right.
I don't think anyone really knows what their authentic self is until they start doing and feeling comfortable in their skin, right? And authentic changes and evolves. So what was authentic Jesse 2 years ago is different now. And it depends what is coming in our life, right? And how we grow and evolve there. So I don't lean on the word as much anymore as like find your authentic self because that's tough. You don't even know you're authentic. I think others recognize authenticity before we recognize our own authenticity,
Mm.
right? And it's recognized like how comfortable they are presenting, and being in their moments more naturally, knowing that there's a camera on them, right? Because I think you can be authentic without the camera in front of you as well. But the magic is how do you do that together to help you achieve what you want to. But like if you look at Jesse in front of the camera in 2012, it is not this,
Right.
right? It's like the first time you get into a car to drive, it's not how you're driving now, right? And so this pressure to be like this the first time you get in front of the camera can feel very like daunting. And I have to remind people like there can only be one Jesse. The world will explode if there's two. You have to get your reps in and find it. Like my partner Addison, when he got involved in real estate with us, saw the value of this, but he then tried to duplicate this. And for the first year, it was kind of like people could say, "Oh, Jesse, he's trying to be like social savvy." But that was like him just getting reps in and then figuring out what his approach is and moving through that. And I think people getting in need to find their inspiration board, take a bit, and then go do the reps to see how you fit into that, how that feels natural, how that doesn't, and then what the results are from that.
Sure.
Right. And so that's kind of,
So what
you
makes
know,
up the social savvy content wheel today? Now your stuff again, like back to the keynotes and the presentations you've had, you use a lot of these surprise and delight moments, which is different than say when we had Ken, mayor of Orlando, doing, curated huge, things like that. So what's the pillars that make up your world that so that we can lean on, and it could be as simple as what you just shared, right? What you were doing right before you got on this podcast with me,
yeah,
and other pillars that go along that do line up with social and or some type of video format. Can you share kind of what
yeah,
what makes up a
totally.
successful social savvy week of content?
Sure. Yeah, for 2025, 26. First off, social savvy, you may be curious of what that means. So when I kind of made it work as part of the brand, it was I am a social person and I'm good at it. Social networking, I am good at it. Social savvy, like social media, I am good at it. And so it kind of had a few different layers that felt true to who I was, right? And so and it was kind of like at that time, it was like a moniker. There was no Instagram handles.
Right.
Like there wasn't any of this. It was more like I was a big fan of the Jim Rome show, Welcome to the Jungle, and all his listeners had these monikers, right? And so I was like, oh, I want a moniker. And that's kind of how that came about. But today's social savvy world is probably a mix of how can I be social one to one? How can I be social to my stories audience and connect via social? And then what am I doing to have a broader macro social landscape? So I kind of think of it as a micro and a macro. And so a lot of my surprise and delight moments, which I like to call, where people aren't expecting something, right? And Darren, I've talked about this a long time, and I just did two of them. Big surprise and delight moments for me that I like to deliver for others is into one-to-one moments using the power of video, and I lean on it to give birthday videos, right? I utilize social, Facebook primarily, to tell me when birthdays are, right? And I look through it and says, who needs a birthday video today? Right? And then I leverage our social connections, right? And maybe I'm sending it out on Messenger or Instagram or how we've been together. And I send a 1 minute video, right? Surprise and delight being social, right? Utilizing the data that's on social to connect, right? And that I've been doing that for years, and that always generates just amazing conversations, right? That can build off, and those are foundational stuff. I use
You know what you're
social.
also doing that I think a nuance to that is that when you're sharing these videos, you're pulling something you've noticed in their world when in their social. So you're always bringing up either a history moment or something
Yep,
recent that I've noticed that you've
yep.
seen in their life. So now you've entered their conversation and then you're firing back in all Jesse's self. So it's that combo to be like, again, how to
Yeah.
use social in a
You can't
way.
send a canned happy birthday. Like, you can't, like, imagine getting a video that doesn't say your name, doesn't reference anything about you, but wishes you happy birthday. How, I'll say it, insincere is that when you have an opportunity to really deliver some goodness, right? And we should be plugging into our friends. We should be plugging into our families. We should be plugging into our clients' worlds. And there's no better way to do that than checking out their socials,
Totally.
right? Or being aware of what's happening in their lives and dropping in some goodness, right? And so that's what I do there. My stories, you know what, when I'm in good rhythm, I love sharing my days, what's happening behind there, and because those are the real raw connected moments, right? Capturing life in that instant through your POV. We love seeing POVs. We love finding ways to be relatable, you know, and delivering laughs or giggles or inspiration, and that's what I enjoy. That kind of the fuel, the comments or the things that come back is what fuels. I'm like, oh, this is why I'm doing that, because that feels good, right? And so selfishly, that's the stories I kick in there. So I try to do those every day, right? Sometimes it's 20 things in a day, sometimes it's three things in a day. And then on a macro, on a week goodness, I try to create regularly some reels that either, my family and I like creating reels that are kind of funny and trendy. I like creating content about our city, what the numbers are, what's going on, kind of from a few different funnels. And then I've gotten on and inspired by someone like Ken and a Bill Olson and whatnot. If we're going to be, have longevity in our cities, we have to talk about our cities and how can we utilize our audience and what our talents now to relay things, right? And so I try to find things that interest me in the city, create a green screen, my own little news show, and put that out, right? But there is the challenge there, Darren, right? Like it's called burnout. It's social burnout, the social weight. Like it is a thing, right? And you have to be aware of your mental well-being and but also your mental well-being of how that affects others in your lives. And early on, I don't think I realized how much me always creating and always being on and always capturing things affected my wife,
Sure.
affected my kids, affected business. And so it's
I think you kind of hit on something, and probably that I like to share when I have an opportunity to like have agents really wrap themselves around what does social mean for me. And you said I like blank. I like blank, which was like you like to talk about the city. You like to talk about the things. You like to do the trends. I like to create the things with my family. Imagine if you're like, I don't like, and then tried to do it. I don't
yeah,
like, and then I tried to do it. And like that's where I keep asking agents to filter themselves to be like, if it just doesn't feel like you're waking up to be Mr. Creative or like stoked to go be the voice to the latest city hall problem, you don't need to be the messenger. You don't need to be the mayor of your town. But if you want it, if you feel it, if it's exciting, well, today's tools are so damn good
oh,
to get that noise out there, to be a part of the message. But you can also not, right? You could
yeah,
also do a lot of other things that don't require that. For some of you
I
might
th-
feel like ick, you know?
exactly, you know, and like you say, Darren, you've been through this, and your talks show all the different ways you can build business. I think the word social is still important, though. And I don't think it necessarily has to be always connected to social media. Be social, be out there, be of value, be of service, be a connector. Like, I think those are things that are, if you want to put a little circle in what do you think of when someone's social? I think social media for a long time was like, oh, social media. No, 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 no. Be social. Be like, what is a social person? If you heard the word social, before social media was a thing, what are those other things? Right. And I think that takes the pressure. If you can understand, how can I be a social person of value, especially as a realtor, because we have to bring value. I think that helps. Um, if you can understand though, that from like the mindset that I now use for framing social for me is I look at myself, and I've said this before, like I'm a TV show. I'm my own, like I'm a phone show. I'm a social show, right? I'm a character in my show, right? And my city is a character. My houses are characters. My gym journey was a character. My ring journey is a character. And so if you begin to look at not just as yourself as a one man show, or a one person show, but as yourself as a character in a show that people are watching, everything is a character. Everything is an episode. Everything is a season. Like I watch Grey's Anatomy. Okay. Grey's Anatomy has lasted 20 years, not just focused on Grey. It's everything else, right? There's just a small part that draws Grey, and now it's about the interns. Now it's about the hospitals. Now it's about COVID. You can be that same thing. You are part of it, but now you're showcasing and telling stories of other people or other things of importance that also are important for an audience. And so you can story tell that. You can be behind the scenes a little bit, and maybe that's exciting for you. You don't always have to be in front of the camera, but how do we get others in front of it? And just as important, Grays, Survivor, whatever it is, they take breaks. There's rerun season. They aren't always on TV. And so I think it's important. It's okay to take breaks from social. It's okay to, like Darren, you and I were chatting about being off stories for a while and then rebooting it, right? It's okay for that. It's okay to have reruns. It's okay to repurpose content. The show doesn't have to be on 24/7. But remind yourself when you're creating content, Would you watch a show that was 75% commercials and only 25% character driven? You wouldn't. We watch shows that is 75% stories, 25% commercials. So if you're thinking about how do I sprinkle in real estate into this, think of it that way as like your traditional 30-minute TV show. 75 minutes storytelling, whatever that looks like, 25% sprinkling in your real estate goodness. And that's what I've found as a mindset to kind of keep things healthy and balanced over 15 years of doing this, but learning from it. So I'm just paying that forward.
Among this journey, what percentage today of your business comes in from Sphere in the database that's already there? And then what comes like fully cold from that you could track through social or video that you feel is like driving new business? Or is it really
Mhm.
just an incredible tool that has just kept rinse and repeat as easy as
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah. Social's a tough ROI to track,
Hmm.
especially in a for how I do it, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
currently have like, hey, enter this forms here from my profile and I could track you there, right?
Here's my buyer's guide. Here's my this guide. Here's
I
my
don't do
system. That's not
that.
your play,
I
right?
that's not my play. It's DMs and conversations being out there. And can I improve that playbook? For sure. Do I love data and tracking insights? For sure. Can I improve it? For sure. But this is more of a just a macro marketing play. And how I look at it is I track all my sales data, okay, year over year. So I know when things get busy. And I also can correlate when I'm hitting the socials and delivering
Yeah.
the ideal social structure, I'm busy. Whether it's November, whether it's April, whether it's August, but I also have to realize and recognize the importance of also being plugged in personal life, right? And you know,
I think that's a
that's in,
in your
yeah,
case, yeah, it's not kind of you were early on the bus, video, social, using it as a platform to just share the goodness
yeah.
and not heavy on social for mass virality, not social or videos
No.
to be YouTube superstar, even though you've done tons of that. It was really make this mechanism to just drive so much repeat goodness,
Yep.
traditional social people you would meet. Obviously, you're probably driving them to your social platform so they can follow the Jesse show. And it's like that 1-2 punch is enough to drive a 1%, top 1% business year over year over year. And you obviously love it versus the wannabe creator that just gets burnt out on one post a week, you know?
Totally. And like I fluked my way into this, guys. But Darren, you grabbed it. You were like, Jesse, you like what you're doing. You like talking about this and doing that. So if you're able to find that, but like I say to my kid, whether it's at swimming lessons, competitions, hockey, whatever, you're not going to like every practice. You're not going to like every game. But in the big picture, if you enjoyed that season, you enjoyed that tournament, you enjoyed that rush, keep going through it, keep going through it, keep going through it. Next thing you know, you've gone from a novice swimmer or hockey player or average goalie to something bigger, to something oh my gosh. And we said before, like, oh, I am in my brain on social all the time. And then looking back and be like, oh, I have done something special without necessarily recognizing it. And I think there's different pressures and structure now put in place on people in 25, 26, where I think maybe I avoided that.
Sure. So if you woke up tomorrow, 2026, as we're recording this, no brand yet, no mantra, no followers, no past client base that, that is, of course, watching the show, but these same skills, the same belief, the same like journey, this like this is doable, and you were dropped either like into a new city, right? Like, what would the first days 90 120 days look like if you're thinking I'm a creator agent and like you're in this like I don't have this 14-year platform, would you do anything differently or would it be the same old that we've kind of just talked about?
It would be very similar because I think, you know, I love using analogies. Doesn't matter what team you go to. If you can skate, you're still like you're not relearning
Still
the
playing hockey. Yeah.
basics, right? The numbers are the numbers, wherever city, whatever number you're in. I would go into, rather than a showcasing mindset, a capturing a discovery mindset, because so many of our clients or so many people who are moving, let's say, are discovering where their next move is going to be, what the next community is going to be, what city they're going to. So I would come at it from a POV of discover the city with me.
Mm.
Discover these neighborhoods that I never knew about, and let's get after it. And capturing those. Let's discover these houses together. Let's just because now, right, you would be like connecting or feel a lot of things in common with people who want to discover these places, but you have the real estate foundation of how to break down the numbers, right? Now you're excited about discovering some things, but you know the ABCs, you know the math, you know how to skate, you know how to do those things. So like you have something in common of discovering and showcasing and have earned their trust because you understand how real estate works. It doesn't matter if it's real estate in Calgary versus real estate in Winnipeg or real estate in, you know, North Dakota versus Massachusetts. Sure, there's some different things with a little bit, but I would go into full discovery mode, neighborhoods, businesses, building relationships so that I could then in turn connect people down the future. But all we need is a few things to talk to. And a lot of the times clients don't know we're brand new to a city,
Totally.
right? So
I love that.
I would,
For
yeah,
one, it pulls you
discover.
into the journey, right? Pulls
Yeah.
them in. Some of the best videos that I see are that get like full watch time or what? They're the unboxing style videos where it's like, come
Hmm.
with me and you naturally stay to the end. And if you're in
Yeah.
discover mode, like Jesse's saying, it's like, let's go through, let's see what's at the end. Like, is there a pharaoh in the Egyptian tomb type of moment, right? But it's just like, what is it that you can pull them through? And the beautiful thing is like, you don't have to pretend that you're like zillionaire realtor. You
Yeah.
just get to go and showcase and be a voice. So if you're trying to look like I think that's a bit of an unlock that I think agents should take from this, that there's like a huge opportunity despite how social has become so
Totally.
big.
And I don't even think it's necessarily like you have to like be transplanted into a different city to
Yeah.
to go with this approach. You could go into it like with different homes. You're like, hey, let's go look at like what's really affordable here, or let's go discover the northeast side of the city, or let's go discover, the 12 coffee shops that have shown up in, whatever it is, right? Like a discover point because people are researching and discovering. So if we can use ourselves and like I'm sure Kenny Pozak says, as a medium, right? You as a medium for them to go through to discover more, you're finding more opportunities to connect and be social through that. And that's that trust through friendship, trust through, collaboration, trust through advice that then in turn lead to helping through major life moments, which is often real estate.
I talked to it about like if you're listening to these podcasts and you feel the energy of the creator, you wake up like you're stoked about this and you feel like this is the season to turn it up a notch and you're going from creator light mode to say creator full mode. I mean, I there's a difference, right? There's a cadence, there's an effort level. Back in your days, you'd probably have a little bit more formalized around when the YouTube videos were going, the cadence, the frequency. So I think if you want to go level it up a notch and you're thinking it's time to step into this fully, like go for it, right? Like, and what
Yeah,
what what does it take courage wise? I use the word courage in my seven C's framework a lot to build this business, to say I'm going all out, not just dabbling in social. What can you tell them? Like anything that's like to fully step into that, to know that social is possible, video is possible, and it's okay for you to go harder at it, knowing that
yeah.
this feels like it's you to the core.
Yeah, like any positive results, any form of results don't happen overnight. They don't happen in 3 days. They don't happen in 5 days. They don't happen in 4 weeks, right? Like you have to go with the mindset like, hey, I'm going a full season here, right? I'm going 90 days. I'm going 6 months. I'm going 12, 10 months. Like, but put a break in there. But like an athlete, like, you've got a football season, you've got a baseball season, you've got those seasons, and these guys, these people don't just like, all right, let's just focus on 2 weeks of our sport and then
Right.
pack it in. No, go go the distance. Go in real estate, I say go a quarter, go 90 days and then evaluate. But what helps you get through that is breaking them down. When I used to coach hockey, it was like, okay, we've got a 40 game season. We're going to break it down into 8 segments, 5 game segments. What are our goals in the first five? Goals for, goals against, penalties, blah, blah, blah. So what are your goals in the first, 5 days, say? And then what's your goals for the next 5 frame fragment? And then you're always building, but you got to be able to analyze the insights, do hard looks, but you got to keep practicing, keep moving. And I almost guarantee what you find down 90 days will surprise, will delight you, will give you growth opportunities, and you will have seen benefit. I don't think you're going to see benefit after 30 days, to the extent that you will after 90, right? Like people change meal routines or stop drinking for 30 days. Great. That doesn't do shit, guys. It's like a drop. But if you want to build the drops, go longer. But understand yeah, you just got to move through it. But the easiest way is like micro it, small bite your way through it and track everything. Storytell through it, capture it, right? Have the camera set up. I'm taking you on a 90-day journey. If it's a gym, if it's a rink, if it's a business, blah, 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 bring an audience into it. And like for the record, like what is one's audience? You define that, right? There's people like me and you who agents are our audiences as well. There's sellers that are an audience, right? So kind of know that a little bit, and I think that helps also build excitement and or you could tell it builds excitement for me, right?
Well,
Like,
if you build a base like you got and you're going to go a little deeper, I know we're going to run and we're going to finish this right away here and kind of pull it all together. If I was starting a farm community, Jesse, like our buddies do in your neighborhood, right? You're not looking out 90 days for results, right? You're looking out a whole year, right? So same
okay,
thing.
yeah, you
You're
have to.
planning for 90 days for to analyze, but just in social, or if you're picking up a show, like if you're going to go and create a series because you're going to go full creator mode, don't look what's going to happen to where your views counts and your whatever comes after 90.
No,
Plan for the year, just like any other of the traditional methods, right? Social is no different, even though you could catch fire, but that's not, of
totally.
course, the
Well, and those things, right? When I say plan 90, those are quarters of years, right? What's
totally.
Q1? Learn from Q1 to go to Q2, Q2 to go to Q3. But you're still doing all 4 quarters, right? Like you still got to do the year. You
Yeah,
still got to give yourself the grace to take some losses, but to get some wins and to go through it and build those reps in, and building those reps in and putting those seasons together allow you to discover who your authentic self is.
totally. Yeah. I mean, that full creator mode it's a journey, man, right? And that's what I say. You got to be fearless.
Oh, it's a
You got to
journey,
be
man.
handling the pushback, but you got to be willing to commit for long term without results. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
you're just saying, right? 90
And
days is an
and
incredible
I'll sh
time, but
I'll share this. I'll share this. And I do all my content. I do all my posting. I don't have a team that helps me with this. And so I think I kind of come at it from a point of view of like, I know the importance of all of this because I do it all,
mhm.
because I enjoy doing it and it weighs heavy, but like I am a hands-on person. I've tried handing things off. That's not the best fit for me. And like yourself, Darren, you find, hey, where can I hand it off? Where can I hand it off? Ken's got a team, Noel's got a team. Everyone how they do things. I choose to do this a lot hands-on. And when you are as hands-on, you can learn and feel it and get excited about the things. But if you're handing everything off, it's tough for you to really grasp the value that you are doing if you are just looking at sales, right? Like you're not always getting the wins, but look at everything else. You're not understanding that if you're just showing up to the games and not the practices.
Totally. I think some people who want to be creators thinking they can offload the creativity. And that's, I think, a huge miss, right?
Well, it is because in our world now, the audience can like suss out, you know, creativity and what is authentic and what is connect and what is like, oh, I think that humans can detect more of that now. And
Yeah.
how do we have that delicate balance through it is what you have to ask.
Well, buddy, this is gold. I know you got to run.
Yeah,
Here's
man.
what I'm taking away. I took three notes down. I always want to like wrap this up, and I want every creator listening or would-be creator to sit with these things. So, number one, he didn't build social savvy on a viral moment. Okay, he's had viral moments, but he built it on those consistent reps that he put in consistently over time. Right? Video is also a tool. This is number two. It's not the personality, right? The video was the tool. The personality was the Jesse behind it, right? It's
Yeah.
how he tells the story of him, his family, his clients, in his case, in Winnipeg City. And it's not about his ego, right? It's always about something else, the characters he shared, right? Three, and even as a creator, his business is still grounded in da 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 real conversations, right? You've mentioned that most of the time, right? And using simple systems like the DMs in the platforms in Facebook and Instagram to just carry those forward. And then, of course, the service he does. So that's the difference between content hobby, right? And content-led businesses, I think, right? So if you're listening and you're thinking, this is me, or it's some version of me, right? It's awesome, right? I just need to find the structure, find your voice, and know that listen to all three of these to see if you can find your blend. I know there's so many different ways to be a wicked ass creator in this business. So, um, if you ever want to know more, you guys can always go and be a part of Rome, right? So, Rome, Jesse, is my online free resource hub, right? Many of the folks out in Winnipeg are part of it, where all of these episodes go. We do a full downloadable worksheet. We do audio summaries for what Jesse shared, and you can go and try to put some of this stuff into practice. And it's all free. The whole goal is just to make this podcast, these conversations go deeper so that hopefully you can implement in your life. And you might have listened to this at the gym, right? On the way to school, or you're dropping the kids off. And then you're like, how do I actually take what Jesse shared? Because that hit me further. And that's how you do it. So just for anybody listening, if you haven't gone yet, just go to darrenlangille.com and you'll see there's like calls to actions to join Rome free. So I don't sell you anything. And then we do live master classes now starting on the 20th. So by the time this goes live, you will start to see that there's these weekly shows that some of the guests will come on, and I might pull Jesse back on if I can get him on schedule to unpack this even further. So Jesse, man, thank you spending over an hour with me. I know you got to run off probably to a showing or an inspection or some
Yeah.
content schedule. Any last words?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, Darren, you help carry this torch in our industry that collectively helps raise the bar in our community. And you've been doing this for years. You've got the reps in. You do this so naturally, and you have found your fit. So thank you so much for creating this that allows this to happen, that allows that to happen. We will never know to the extent, the impact that we have on people because of these things, but it doesn't happen if you don't start doing it. So thank you so much there. And lastly, kind of, you know, there's so many ways to do this business. There's so many ways to live life. Find what makes your heart jump and fills your cup. Because when those things happen, that cup fills and it goes in through the rest of your worlds, right? And when you are excited to do things, people get it. When you could bring value and insight that others don't have, people trust you. When you begin to stack up trust with sales, now you're in the game. And you have to think of yourself as a farmer. And Darren, you like this planting seeds, planting seeds. One type of crop is through social, right? And you've got three people here who just shared social and contenting. That's a crop. We are farmers. We work on that crop. There's lots of different crops and way to do business, but the farmer shows up every day. And when it feels heavy, just remember you're not the only farmer out there, and we've got a community to help support you through it.
Amazing. So we can find, and the best place is to go to your Mr. Social Savvy with two
Yeah, at
V's,
Mr.
Y.
Social Savvy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
SAVVY. I'm there for you, right? Share, chat. I'll help connect you with others if you need it. But let's just enjoy life day by day.
all right, buddy. Well, thanks for being a part of this incredible community and sharing this story and this voice to the world. It's so easy to just get pulled into your journey. So I hope a whole bunch of people end up in your world
Thank
here.
you.
And thanks again. And for everybody listening, see you inside Rome in the masterclass or just simply on the next episode. So thank you, everybody, for your time.
See ya.